Would you let your daughter date you? The type of man that you are? The man who struggles with lust every day? The man who runs everything that is good into the ground? The man who has no discipline and certainly no future? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want my daughter anywhere near that man. And yet, you're too busy chasing godly women to become a good man yourself. So if you can relate to anything right there, then I highly recommend watching this video in its entirety. Because in today's video, we're going to learn what makes a man husband material and truly deserving of the standards and the requirements to even date godly women. My name is Noel T. Painter, and if you find any value from this video, I highly recommend checking out another or sharing it to a buddy you think would really appreciate it too. And if that's not enough for you, then you can book a call with me. And I'm sure with that, you'd find a lot more value with a one-on-one conversation dedicated to exactly what you need. Anyways, let's get right into it. Here's the truth that most men avoid. Women don't commit to potential, right? They can't foresee who you are and what you're doing, and especially because you're unpredictable and so frantic, they have no idea where you're going. They're not going to commit to your intentions. Sure, intentions are nice and you should be clear with them, but they don't care what you say if you're not presenting anything worthwhile. And that comes with promises too. They don't care what you promise if you break every promise you give to yourself. Additionally, charm is nice, but what's charm if you're just a bad man underneath all the layers? And finally, they don't care about how attractive you are. A good woman doesn't care how attractive you are if you yourself are a bad man. You might be able to get a mid woman, some random chick off the streets, and she might sleep with you, but a godly woman won't even touch you with a 10-foot pole, no matter how good looking you are, if you're just a crappy man underneath. So these good women commit to who you are consciously. A husband, he's not chosen in the moment, but he's picked from thousands and thousands of men because she knows deep down that he's the best out of all of them. So you're not competing for this woman, you're competing between millions of other men around you. So how can you stand out? And that doesn't come through looks, it doesn't come through what you promise, it comes from what you do. It's how stable you are, what direction you have based off of what you're doing currently. Men love to idolize and imagine the future. They imagine the wife, the kids, the house in the woods, but women can foresee what's likely happening. That's why they're so afraid when they're single, and they're so urgent to do when they're in relationships. Because women foresee through pattern recognition. They focus on the details when we focus on the larger scale. The wife and kids, when she's worried if you're even going to have a job or not. So where are you going? What direction do you have based on what you're doing now, right? How disciplined are you? And are you emotional within your leadership? Do you have emotional integrity? Do you have emotional intelligence, right? These are things men like to neglect, and they think, oh, I don't got to worry about emotions. I'm stoic. I'm a stoic man. And yet no good woman wants to be with you, and you don't make women feel safe. So do you actually have emotional integrity? Do you properly support yourself and can relate and have empathy towards the woman around you, right? And that comes with your integrity. Do you have integrity? And within you is an integral part of you, emotional stability. Overall, though, a good man becomes a husband material long before you're actually going to meet your wife. So stop worrying about finding butterflies when your net's not even big enough to catch them, when rather you can be growing a garden that's probably completely destroyed and has piss all over it and it's full of weeds. So stop focusing on the butterflies when you should be focusing on uprooting the weeds and planting some good roses, some good habits, and having some discipline from it. So what is emotional stability? I touched on that quite a bit. Well, emotional stability is really simple. You're not going to explode, right? Let's say you're with a partner, hypothetically speaking, and she's really upset about something. Well, the worst thing you can do is to explode. Women naturally base their worldview off of their environment because they want to feel safe, whether it's physical safety, spiritual safety, or emotional safety. And in this mindset, that means they're going to succumb to what the actions of others are around them. That's why they're influenced by trends. That's why they're influenced by you. So if you're a masculine man, they're going to be more feminine. But if you're a pathetic man who's going to scream and shout in an argument and freak out when she's upset, you're going to make her feel all the worse. And she's going to spiral the same way you would too. So don't shut down, don't freak out, don't run from conflict, and don't react so impulsively. It's these 5 things that come together that really ruin your relationships because she won't feel safe. And naturally, subconsciously even, she'll see you as a threat to her stability because she'll know every time she's with you, you make her feel uncomfortable. And that's the worst thing a man can do. Nothing makes me more frustrated than making a woman uncomfortable. So how do we rebuild this? Well, speak slower, right? You might not be the perfect stoic man where you're like, oh, I'm so stoic, I'm talking so slowly, but you're going to give yourself time to think, time to reflect, time to pause. I like to think we're a pole grounded in the ocean into the core of the crust of the earth, and we're sticking out of the waters. We're struck by waves, hit by lightning and thunder and all this nonsense, and strong winds, not even to mention. And yet, we don't sway. Why? Not because we're grounded in logic. I mean, what good is logic if two people who are quote unquote logical can argue and disagree? So you need to be led in truth, a godly truth. Truth that is, if she's upset, you're going to be calm. Not because you're hiding your emotions, but because you can relate to her, you can empathize with her, and you want to tell her it's okay. That's love, right? Otherwise, you're not loving her. You're too busy focused on yourself to realize the bigger picture. A good man can do everything, and so can a good woman, but you won't deserve one if you're not that good man in the first place. So breathe, not so you look stoic, but so you give yourself some pause and stay grounded during the conflict, just like that pole in the ocean. So take some space, be responsible, and certainly not overdramatic. Additionally, you need direction and purpose. I touched on this earlier, and we should all have an idea of a man who has direction and purpose. The thing is, though, purpose isn't necessarily interchangeable with your wife, even though a man should both have a wife and a purpose. So maybe the purpose is building the car, maybe it's raising kids, maybe it's having that house or that business or that job or making it to the sports team for his school. Either way, he should have both. Why? Well, if you think about it for a moment, a woman can have a purpose rooted in her man. No job, no business, no nothing, just loving her man. That would make a perfect woman. But on the other hand, if a man only loves his partner and has nothing else, you're a weak man. Yes, the love is essential, and it's important, but what else do you bring? How can she foresee anything good if you aren't doing anything else? And that means, technically speaking, you were nothing and had nothing to work for before her, which is a threat to what she believes because that's all she has to present, not what you're looking to do in the future. So without structure, without discipline, without identity, without clarity, and without that long-term vision, she's not going to want to be with you. So that purpose, no matter what it is, and oftentimes purposes change, they shift, they evolve, you aren't a good man. So you need to have this purpose. You need something that is worthwhile and something you can actually focus on tangibly while you're in a relationship. And I know that sounds like a lot, but not really. You have something to take your frustrations out. You have something to work on, something to look forward to outside of your relationship. And that certainly doesn't diminish your relationship. It just shows your partner that you care enough to do everything and so much more. And you know what else that means? It means the time that you have for her is infinitely more valuable. You have things that you care about, and it makes her purpose in your life, right? That wife you care about, that girlfriend, right? The family you want to build. It makes it a privilege, right? It's a privilege to be with a good man, is it not? After all, it's a privilege to be with a good woman. They are so far and few in between because look at the man that they have to pick from. So if it is a privilege after all, make it one that is worthwhile, one that has a long-term vision that isn't just in your mind, but universally recognized. A vision that is so universally recognizable that she can pick it apart and see, oh yeah, you're going to build this business and it's going to be successful here, and then we're going to have a family here, and then I'm going to want to get married here. A vision that is so universally expressed that she can experience it even though it's not yet met. And that comes through the structure, your daily life, the discipline, and the identity, the man you build your life around your action. Overall, though, a man with purpose creates a future that is actually worth joining, a future that is a privilege to be within. This is the future women desire, but they're never going to communicate because who are they to communicate what they desire with you when you're nowhere near what they actually want? And that doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out, but it means you have to be looking into a direction that she can see, right? Something that's predictable, something that is experienced, something that can be even experienced, right? These need to be actions, right? Like getting up early in the morning, going to the gym frequently, working hard on yourself, studying, reading. You got to read books. You got to learn. You got to increase your intelligence so that way she can actually appreciate you for who you are and who you're going to be. But if all these things are hypotheticals and all these things are made up scenarios that you look forward to off of doing nothing, she's never going to want to be with you. So, additionally, that comes with self-control. You need some self-control and you need some discipline that comes within the self-control. So that means forcing yourself to get up at the right time, not having snacks, not splurging, not doing things that are going to be a detriment to your goal and a detriment to your relationship. It means if you're going to be vulnerable, which is okay, you're going to choose the right time. You're not going to lash out and be vulnerable and make a bad situation worse, and you're certainly not going to ruin a good situation. Why? Because women love the moment. They'll do anything for the moment because it makes them feel chosen. Women love feeling chosen. They want to feel like you picked them out like a flower and you love them. And that's how they feel in the moments, because they feel safe. They'll do anything to maintain the moment. And if they can see that you're building moments through having self-control, then that makes you a good man. But self-control far exceeds the moment. It falls into the realm of dealing with lust and your sin. How prideful are you? How envious are you? How jealous are you? Right? And do you have a spine? Can you stand up for yourself when problems follow through? Right? How can you resolve problems? I'll touch on that later. But overall, though, self-control is like controlling your impulses, resisting temptations, especially lust. I made a whole video on it. Lust is not the same as love. I recommend watching it. But nonetheless, you need to say no when you need to, right? You don't want to always fall over, that is, and be the nice man. The nice man is not a good man. Why? Because a nice man gets trampled over, even by his partner. And when a partner has power over their other in a very negative way, that's bad. That's damaging. And especially when others have power over you too, because that means you cannot protect your woman and she won't feel safe. So you need to learn to say no, set boundaries and healthy goals to ascertain in your relationship, right? Having exercises to do with your partner that not only build your love, but reinforce the foundation and the structure that controls the entire relationship behind the scenes. So you got to keep your promises, even to yourself, but especially to your partner. And you have to stay committed to your values. After all, what is a value worth or a promise worth if you can never fulfill it within your self-control? So a woman, right, especially this really good woman that we're aspiring to be with, I know, the one you're thinking about, the one you're dreaming of, they deeply respect a man who can control themselves. And they might not say thank you, they might not express it in their gratitude, but holy smokes, they will absolutely represent it within the way they control themselves around you and within the way they keep up with their habits around you. A good woman is going to double down on her good habits and eradicate all the bad ones because she'll want to be with you. People change for others, and that's not because they're weak, that's because they want to be better. So if you want your partner to change for you, be better. Change first. Lead by example, after all, if you want to be a leader. And that kind of leads me into a bit of a tangent. Women love a man with authority, not a man who's authoritative. And the difference is clear. A man who's authoritative is going to come in and force a woman to submit, but you're not going to want a woman who's going to immediately submit to you, because that means she's just submit to every other man in her life, and you wouldn't want that, right? So you got to be a man with an authority, and what that means is you're calm, you're patient, you're clear, and gradually she voluntarily submits to you. And she's not submitting because it takes away what makes her a good woman. She submits because she understands that you lead her to the right directions. You can lead her to God. You can lead her to discipline. You can lead her to love and a family. All the things she wants, she'll realize come through you. But if you're not leading her to those directions, you don't have a good authority and you're not a good leader. All in all, though, this relates to our identity and consistency. A husband material man is a man who does what he says. He has that spine like I was talking about. He stands up for when people try to berate all over you and try to nag you and neglect you. He stands up when his partner is inconsistent, not because he hates her, but because he wants her to be better. And that's not out of a term of disgust or out of a point of envy, but it's because he loves her, right? Love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't worry, and love improves, love sacrifices, right? A good husband is going to show up on time. He's going to stay the same person in private. He's going to be this man who's constant, right? That doesn't mean he's like a wall. He's like this brick wall who never changes, but it means he's that same little boy inside of him, and he won't let anyone change that. He's the same little boy who likes Godzilla or World War II movies or playing with Legos, and the integrity within him won't let someone take that away from him. It means he's going to keep his word even if it's inconvenient and maintain his habits, the good ones, that is, and eradicate the bad ones. He's not going to live a double life, but he's honestly going to live the same boy who he was before, but just a more evolved man. You can be the little boy and the man at the same time. I hate it when people say, kill the boy and become the man, but the truth is, you can be the little boy all the time, right? You can play with the toys. You can enjoy things. You can have a personality. Women want a man who has a personality and who has depth. They don't want the man who's just a flat, stoic boy. They want a man who's actually interesting. So you can still be the boy, but you can be this evolution of it. You can be this boy who's disciplined, who actually has something to work for in the future, and who cares, and who's smart, and who reads. You can be all those things. You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to be this little boy who's nothing or this big man who's also nothing when you can be everything at the same time. And in this, we become emotional leaders. Women don't want to be with a man who's, going to make her be a mother. Women want to be with a man who makes her feel like a woman, right? Like someone who can care and protect and is protected and is cared for all at the same time. Women don't want to mother a man, and men don't want to father a woman. That's why we have our own parents. They want to be parents for your children. So they want a woman, or they want a man who can be a father for not her, but her children. And good men are going to want a mother, not for him, but his children. So you got to calm the room. You have to present father-like or husband-like material. So calming the room, slowing the conversation, showing patience and passion and empathy towards others. Relatability. You have to ground attention, right? Like that pole in the middle of the ocean. It's not logical, but it's in truth. And you have to listen before teaching. And it's a big thing. Men are good teachers. We're leaders after all. We are ambitious for what we desire. But the thing is what good is that desire if we're not patient enough to listen to others? That's something I really got to work on. I have to work on listening to other people rather than being so eager to just explain my own stories. But the YouTube channel helps. Think of it. This is a perfect example of having a purpose and a relationship. Now I don't have to go over and be so eager and shove everything on my partner when I can just document all my findings and help you through these videos. And that comes with leading the tone. I lead the tone. If I was really angry and strict, that would be the tone. If I was calm and present and eager to do something healthy, then that completely changes the tone from what otherwise would have been negative to the relationship's health and detrimental to the partner that we really want to be with. So you don't got to dominate, but you need to have some dominance shown through your direction. And it needs to be healthy enough for her to recognize that she would rather be with you than anyone else. Overall, though, it's not some sort of competition, like I said earlier. Yes, you have to compete with other men, but if your woman loves you, you're not competing with anyone. You're just trying to become better. Life's not about fighting everyone around you. It's about just fighting yourself and growing your garden. So be a man who's stable, who's got purpose, self-control, integrity, and leadership. And those 5 things will simply build you to be the right man you want to be. So build these traits, and you won't attract the average woman, but you'll attract the wife of your dreams, a good woman. And the more you realize it, the more you'll realize, well, 99% of the dating pool isn't for you. 99% of the women you want to be with aren't for you. Because if you want to be a religious man, a man who's got husband material, who's calm and present and has integrity and evermore, most women aren't for you. But that's a good thing. Why would you want to be with all these women if they're not for you in the first place? They're not going to like what you are as a little boy, and they're not going to like where you're going for as a man. So just be who you are, be the best version of who you are, and the right woman will come to you one day sooner than later. My name is Nolan T. Painter. I'm really thankful if you watch this video in its entirety, and if you're struggling to understand anything, feel free to reach out to me and ask. I love talking about this stuff. I'm very passionate about it, if you couldn't already tell. So passionate that sometimes my delivery would fall apart. So if you're really interested in a bit more focused conversation, feel free to call me, and I'll help you with literally anything you want. Like, self-improvement applies to, like, anything. It can be anything. So feel free to reach out to me if you're curious about that. Nonetheless, I love you, but God loves you more, and I will see you tomorrow.